seasons. But it has been a bumpy road this year. Injuries to key players have tested the Blues' will. Now everyone's got to get to it. They look for 2 precious points today. They visit the Chicago Blackhawks. ESPN's NHL Sunday Special is next. National Hockey League and ESPN welcomes you. It's Chicago and the St. Louis Blues are in town. And does it ever matter for the Blues? With only a week to go in the regular season, the battle for the final 8th spot in the West for the playoffs, a virtual deadlock. St. Louis, Nashville, and Edmonton. It is going to be an interesting final week of the regular season. Hello, everybody. I'm Gary.
They are fighting for their playoff lives. Chris Osgood has been good for the St. Louis Blues, so the workload will be his.
He has a 2.30 goals against, ranked 19th in the NHL. There's Mike Kitchen. Took over for Joe Quenneville, of course. The club's gone 7, 5, and 4. St. Louis Blues since Kitchen took over in that role. That one knocked away to center. Weinrich came over to help. Chicago got it back. It'll be dumped in right back out again. We may see a lot of center ice play today if these teams can play the way they want to. Jimmy Vandermeer's line is out there for Chicago, knocked away to center. This young Chicago Blackhawk team. Something to prove to the management and coaches, for the players who are out there right now, and for those who are veterans and remember that 2002 playoff year, that love nothing better than to deny the St. Louis Blues an opportunity to be in the playoffs this season. Against the far side, Yakubov was over to get it, moved it up along the wall, dumped it in front, backhand chance, deflected into the corner. Good stick work over there, and it's cleared out of the zone. Play made by Christian Backman, who partially blocked that. Keith back to get it, dumped it. They'll go back in behind the net. That's Jason Strudwick. He's had a goal, 3 assists so far in the year. Blues trying to hold it in at the point, could not. They'll have to go back in their own end.
One of the things the Blues want to do is really pressure Chicago. They are young, especially on their blue line. You pressure them enough, you're going to pressure them into mistakes. That said, that's how the Blackhawks play too.
Yeah.
And even veteran players under pressure can make mistakes.
Almost deflected right onto the net that time. Brian Savage, 13-goal scorer, was cutting through the middle on that dump in and had the opportunity. Back for Savage in the middle again. He could not get to it. Scott Mellanby and Savage were creating havoc down low in front of the net while Doug Waite was trying to dump it in from the corner. That was the line out there for the Blues. There's Mellanby. Mellanby taken out of the play by Strudwick on the far side. Blues are changing it up, so waiting for help along that far side boards. Sent back in deep. Savage was out there. Now gets onto the bench here as they try and get this line change done. Mellanby's been out there a long time. Jason Strudwick had him pinned against the wall. Cleared around for Daze on the near side. Chicago Blackhawks, Tyler Arneson, their leader, 53 points and 22 goals. He leads them in both departments. They are led by Brian Berard in the assist department. The defenseman has 32. Centered in front, got chopped into the corner by Ruutu. Daze was the man who set it up. High scoring line right here if things are working the way Chicago wants with Daze out there. Blues will get that one, just fill it in down the near side wall. Back to get it, Rayom, fourth line out there now for the Blues. In front, low, a chance. Knocked away by Monroe, and he finds it in the paint and hangs on.
The battler, Adam Monroe. That's how Brian Sutter characterized him to us before the game. His numbers obviously aren't very good. Nobody's numbers are that good with the Chicago Blackhawks. He's only won 1 of his 5 starts. He's got a 4.14 goals against average and an .859 save percentage. But what Brian Sutter loves about him is he's accountable, he takes responsibility, he cares, and he battles you. He just tries to outcompete you. He won't win any awards for technique a lot of nights, but he'll battle you to the right to the last moment of the game.
And who is he compared to, according to Brian Sutter? Bauer and Gump Worsley.
Old school guys.
Old school goaltenders who just kind of go out there almost without a technique and just get it done. That one is cleared out of the zone, length of the ice.
Should take his mask off then.
That's right. Why, how can you wear a mask if you're going to be compared to those two? It's got to be played by the Blackhawks. Monroe went back there. I think the Blackhawks thought they were going to get a whistle on that and did not. Adam Monroe, 21 years old, out of St. George, Ontario, Canada. Osgood played it around the far side. Kachuk's out there. Kachuk just flipped that one out of the zone, trying to get a breakaway and just missed Dimitra. Moved it up near side shot. Monroe's there, knocked away and into the corner. Wow, what a chance they had there.
Yeah, misfired on the first go around, but Christian Backman was so quick following up on the play, he sent Dimitra off again.
Pavel Dimitra can score goals, 23 on the year. Right back in, shot, save, rebound. Side of the net, Monroe can't get it, squirts away. Doug Waite had the opportunity, turned back to him on the far side. Waite leaves it at the point, but they can't hold it in.
Boy, we see what Brian Sutter's talking about with Adam Monroe. Way out of his crease to cut down the angle. Now, you know that what's going to happen on the Blues bench is the coaches and the players are saying, make a move, take one more step, because he's going to be way out. He'll go down to the butterfly and then try to slip it in on a sharp angle.
Make him have to play the puck if that's the way he's going to play it. That'll be moved back into the middle. Could be an adventure in travel with Monroe in net here today. He had the 8-2 loss against Minnesota, 4-0 loss against Dallas. A Washington 4-3 win, Tampa Bay a 5-3 loss in his outings. And as we go along today, we'll tell you about Monroe. We'll talk about travel. He's had an interesting year of travel. Ruutu behind the net. Drake won't let go of him. Drake along the far side wall, got pinned up over there. Chicago able to hold it in. A dot shot over the head of Osgood. Boy, I had something on that one. John Thornton has just been called up. We'll be seeing action in today's game. Thornton is on his third tour of duty. He's played in 7 games, 23 minutes. Barranco was sent down, the 19-year-old, as the Blackhawks continue to shuffle players up and down from the minor league system. Daze dropped it off, heads to the net. They're looking for him in front. Ruutu got the pass instead and immediately have it blocked. Lowe blocked it and then got hauled down.
And this is the Chicago line that can really hurt you offensively. Tyler Arneson in the middle, their leading scorer. Eric Daze, who just recently got back from yet another back surgery. And Tomo Ruutu, who is just a terrific player.
That one's going to be whistled on the icing call. Take a look at the opportunity Wade had.
This is the shot that Doug Weight took. We're going to take a look at the goaltender, Monroe, out of the paint. Doug Weight, as a left-hander, didn't have much of an option to go wide there, but a right-hander coming down on that side. If he can fake the shot and Monroe comes out that far, fake the shot, take one more stride, then you've got a sharp angle open net to shoot at.
Jason Strudwick has picked up the first penalty of the game, and the Blackhawks are going to be shorthanded. So the St. Louis Blues go on the power play. They have the 9th best power play in the league. Chicago tied for 12th in penalty killing. Strudwick was holding at 5:04. We will continue to remind you throughout the day about the importance of this game for the St. Louis Blues, who are in a 3-way tie for that last playoff spot in the West. They won in overtime last night. They've got a game in hand, and this is it. Centered in front. It'll be cleared out of the zone.
The all left-hand shooting power play of the St. Louis Blues. That's what they've got out there on their first unit. Keith Tkachuk's the guy to watch. Only Rick Nash of the Columbus Blue Jackets has more power play goals than Keith Tkachuk.
Tkachuk's got 17 power play goals. Second in the NHL. There's Tkachuk. Down he goes on the ice. Blackhawks able to move it up the near side. Short-handed. Brett McLean, one of the rookies out there. That'll be dumped in off the near side boards. Igor Korolev got it into the corner. The Chicago Blackhawks change up on their penalty-killing unit. Back come the St. Louis Blues. Blues get a chance to go on top. Monroe watch that one go through. Played by Tkachuk to the point. Pronger's working on a point here. Nobody directly in the middle. Pavel coming off the wall trying to get there. And that hit Pronger in the face. Maybe a stick. Pronger just took a stick to the eye. And there will be a penalty here.
He said, just said, am I cut? You could sense by Chris Pronger's reaction that it was a reaction of concern and not a reaction of pain. And they're different. Watch this. See this stick right there? He reached for his eye immediately. And you can tell, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I can tell when a player's worried about his eye immediately. There's that sense of body posture concern that you see that's different than just pain.
Like a frozen stance.
Yep.
I don't know if I want to know this kind of thing.
And a player invariably immediately clutches to the eye, immediately goes to the eye and covers it up.
Well, the Blues couldn't ask for a better start opportunity. That is a double minor on the high stick. They've got a 2-man advantage for 52 seconds and 4 minutes on that last penalty, and Pronger stays out there. 2-man advantage. Tkachuk, score! Deflected off a Chicago Blackhawk. But in a 1-0 lead.
Finally, a right-hand shooting guy on the power play. This play wouldn't have happened if Mike Sillinger hadn't been inserted into the power play to play down low. Watch the right of your screen. He's a right-hand shot. He was able to one time a little pass to Keith Tkachuk, and you can't do that if you're the left-hand shot over here. Great, well conceived. I mean, Keith Tkachuk, as soon as he saw the play going down to Sillinger, pushed backwards into no man's land in the middle of the penalty-killing box and was able to rip one up high over Monroe. So well done by the Blues. Good execution.
Power play goal. That is the 33rd goal of the year for Tkachuk and his 18th. power play goal, and it's still a power play. That came on a two-man advantage. Now they've got 3:37 left to go on the power play and that double minor. Now it's a 5-on-4 power play. Shot into the middle. Monroe makes the save on the rebound at the bottom of the circle. Cleared up. Weinrich able to knock it back into the zone. They'll send it back in behind the net. Brian Savage out there trying to get to the middle. He moves in along the corner now. Banged up against the wall. Savage trying to hold it in as the Blues continue their power play and try and get another. That one they can't control, and Mark Bell will lead the charge. He's up front. Pass to him got blocked right along the blue line here. Big battle. Good hard hit by Mike Sillinger. Sillinger taking McLean off the puck. Blues change up in their power play unit. Kachuk comes back to get it.
Just in case anybody thinks that the Chicago Blackhawks are going to shrivel up and die if they fall behind by a couple of goals. St. Louis yesterday had 2-goal leads twice and then had to win it in overtime.
There's Kachuk again looking to get it set up. Dimitra right there with him on the half wall. Pavel Dimitra waiting now. Complete overload to this side. In fact, Kachuk runs into his own man in front of the net. Shot right through Kachuk to the far side. Kachuk was over there and ran right into Doug Wade, who was trying to get into the middle short-handed. Blackhawks will take the opportunity. Moved up. Korolev drops it off. They're looking for a short-handed goal. Osgood hangs in net. Tried to center it off his back. Osgood there to hang on. Brian Berard going behind the net. Still 2:19 to go on the power play. Later, tune in. One of the best and oldest rivalries in the NBA. Paul Pierce, the Celtics, Philadelphia 76ers, both fighting for a playoff spot. ESPN, the NBA, 6:30 Eastern. That's tonight. 6:20, the time of the power play goal. Kachuk's 33rd. Wait the assist.
What a heads-up play by young Matt Keith to end up with a face-off deep in St. Louis's end. I mean, Chicago's down a man, but when Chris Osgood handled the puck, he raced to him to force him to smother it and take the face-off in his own end.
Pronger, who's third in the league in minutes played per game and leading St. Louis in that department, has stayed out there for virtually all of this power play. Intercepted. Eric Nicholas will move that one out of there. Scott Nichols, second day of a suspension that he is serving, is the lone scratch for the Chicago Blackhawks. Martins, Danton, Havanoff, Finley, Rycroft all out of there. It'll be moved near side. Another penalty coming. Mellenby drops it. The shot that deflects up into the netting off Steve Pops, but another penalty coming.
It's a slash, and it's going to go on Eric Nicholas, I think.
Wow.
Still 1 minute and 41 seconds to go on the double minor to Yakubov.
Blues couldn't have asked for a better opening to this game.
The table is set for St. Louis to really grab this game by the throat right now. It was on the forecheck going around back. Christian Backman got slashed, and he hit him up high too. Tried to hit him in the hands, but when Backman brought his hands up, he slashed him up high.
So another two-man advantage. Second one we've had. The goal Kachuk scored was a two-man. There's Pronger. Pronger will work at the point. 5-on-3 power play again. They get Dimitra in front. Save made. Rebound near side. Dimitra trying to jam it in. Could not. Diving was Monroe across the middle. Short-handed, and Chicago just gets it out of the zone.
Boy, if I'm Mike Kitchen, I'm standing behind the bench saying, I got to have Mike Sillinger on every starting power play unit. He's made something happen every time he's touched the biscuit.
Right back in that Sillinger 18 out there. Kachuk goes into the middle. Two-man advantage here. A lot of room. Dimitra trying to put it through. It got blocked. Vandermeer got a piece of that, but can't move it out. Pronger at the point again. Pronger's going to play the whole first period if they stay on the power play here. Trying to get it across ice for Dimitra. Got deflected. That's almost an unnecessary pass with a two-man advantage. Another Dimitra got hit, and another penalty coming on Chicago. This is going to be the third before the other two have expired. And look at Brian Sutter.
Gary, the games we've done this year, I don't think we've seen this one. Once a team on a 5-on-3, and the team that's down 2 men take another penalty. Yeah, that close to the boards, I say you got to call that. Steve Pops, the veteran, is the guy that took it, and his penalty will not even start. The time will not start ticking down on his penalty until Yakubov expires.
Wow. Mark Jonette, Shane Heyer are the referees in this game. Steve Miller, Dan McCourt are the linesmen. So the St. Louis Blues playing the first half of this first period with an advantage almost the entire 10 minutes.
But there's
beyond.
Big face-off win right there. When you can win a draw and clear the puck down 2 men, that's something.
Pop's got the cross-checking call. He's in there, but his time hasn't even started to run, as Bill said. They move it to Doug Wade on top. St. Louis must convert here. Pronger shot, save, empty net, fanned on Dimitra and cleared. Oh, what a chance. Brian Berard got it out of there, but that net was wide open. As Monroe was moving, Mellanby had a chance down there as well. They'll move it back into the zone. They set up in front with Brian Savage high slot. Pronger near side, thinks about one-timing it, doesn't. They're in a 2-1-2 on the power play here with Savage the man up. Two-man advantage, St. Louis. There's Savage, quick shot, empty net, score! Not gonna miss that one.
Boy, how cool was Peter Chyanek on that play? No panic. You got to have a panic threshold that doesn't exist. Watch how smooth Chyanek is when the puck actually just comes out to him here. Stops it, sets it right. He knows he's going to get killed by Strudwick sooner or later. From our Southwest Airlines goal cam, the original shot was deflected and kind of slowed down, and that's why Monroe was down when Chyanek got the rebound. Not only was he cool when he gathered the puck, but he knew to get it up to the roof.
Chyanek, second-year player out of the Czech Republic, has his 11th goal of the year. A power play goal, and it is a 2-0 lead here for the Blues. Both of the goals have come on a two-man advantage. They still have a two-man advantage, and the third penalty still hasn't started.
Here we go. Yeah, it will start right now. There are only a few seconds. Here's what St. Louis. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, break in Tkachuk, backhander, saved by Monroe.
St. Louis has been able to score before penalties expire to keep their power plays and their two-man advantage alive.
And it is still a two-man advantage for the St. Louis Blues for another 7 seconds. Tkachuk in the corner, got tied up. The goal at 10:05. Chyanek gets it his 11th.
Chicago's getting another one.
Chicago's getting another call.
Jimmy Vandermeer hit Mike Sillinger up high, and he didn't have to. Okay, Chicago's melting down now. I think they'd like this to turn into a slugfest, and Jimmy Vandermeer is one of the toughest kids in the league as a rookie, but they're down a man, and he really took Sillinger up high, and I wondered if it was going to be called. He hit Tkachuk down, but then he hit Sillinger right there. That's what he called, I think, is the hit on Sillinger up high. He could have called either one, the one on Tkachuk or the one on Sillinger.
Cross-checking to the head on that last play. So Vandermeer is out of there, and obviously the Chicago fans really unhappy. The continual travels to the sin bin. Another two-man advantage. There's a minute 35 left on the first penalty. This is the 5th penalty we've had in the period. All power play St. Louis Blues. 2 goals on a two-man advantage, and they've got the advantage again. Cleared out of there, Brian Berard able to sweep it out.
Good play by Brian Berard. I mean, if the Blues are sharp here, they can grab this game by the throat. But passes like Chris Pronger just made, you only got 3 defenders in there. You don't have to be that. Look at this.
Bad pass, Tkachuk. Nobody there. You don't want to get lackadaisical when you're only halfway through the first period of a game that is a must-win for the St. Louis Blues.
Well, it was at this point, 2-0 yesterday, that St. Louis missed 3 or 4 open nets on a power play, and they could have put Chicago away. They weren't able to.
Two-man now for another 54 seconds. Pronger comes near side. Doug Waits working up on top on this power play unit. Back up Pronger. Open shot. Blast. Monroe's got it. You got to have equipment to prevent that one from hurting. I mean, he is right on top of you, almost down to the hash when he shoots.
Some real sharp defending here by the Chicago trio that's out there in front of Monroe. Darren Quint was great. The smart defenseman, but watch number 2 in front. See how he's down on one knee with his stick on the ice? That takes away that backdoor pass right through the paint to the guy that's over wide open. I mean, that's really smartly played by Darren Quinn.
40 seconds left on the two-man. Shot deflected off the side of the net. Scott Mellanby, a 14-goal scorer, has it. Mellanby will leave it on top. They set the 1-2-2 up again. Pronger thinking about one-timing. Tic-tacs it on top. Wait goes the other way. They're looking, trying to find somebody in the middle. Savage shot. Scores! Mercy. Another two-man advantage goal. I don't ever remember seeing 3 consecutive goals on a two-man advantage.
Gary, same play as the one Tkachuk scored on, too. Brian Savage this time playing the role of Keith Tkachuk, and Scott Mellanby with the puck taking the role of Mike Sillinger. But it's a tough call for the guy that's at the top here. The Chicago forward wonders, gee, do I need to get out to Doug Wade? I mean, when you've only got 3 guys down there, I say give him the pass to the point. Protect against the guy in the slot. And that time Brian Savage was left alone long enough to make it a 3-0 game.
Now Chicago's really got the advantage. They're only down 1. 39 seconds left on the...
You mean manpower-wise?
No, I was just joking there. Sad joke for Chicago. They have 5-4 power play continues. Tkachuk, a shot went right through the paint far side. The goal at 11:41, Savage. His 14th, Mellanby and Waite So 3 two-man advantage power play goals for the St. Louis Blues, and they have a 3-0 lead in this game.
Both of these teams had 5-on-3s in their game yesterday, but Chicago scored the only goal of the game on a 5-on-3.
These young Blackhawks with 7 rookies playing got a bear down. Weinrich save Monroe, rebound just to the side of the net. Monroe just getting peppered. He fell down in net trying to get back. The backhander gets blocked up and into the netting. 9 shots on 6 power plays, 3 goals, all with a 2-man advantage. And we are only a little over halfway through the first period. 3-0 Blues.
All right, it's between you guys.
Best bartender gets the job.
After you. Oh, boy. Yeah.
The Bat Blue, please.
I've got this one. Canada's finest.
Thanks.
Break out the blue. Labatt Blue.
Is it hot in here, or is it just him?
You're Brian Sutter, Chicago Blackhawks. Just got to keep it cool.
You know, he prides himself obviously on having a team that never quits. Brian Sutter never quit, never took a lazy stride in his whole career. But now it's a major test. It's one thing not to quit before the game begins, but when you're getting shelled 3-0 in the first half of the first period at home.
The positive is just that, Bill. It's the first period. That's the positive. The St. Louis Blues, obviously, this is an enormous lead even now to overcome, but it is just the first. A long way to go. Next goal really matters in this game for the Chicago Blackhawks, just to make them feel like we're in this game. Ruutu side of the net. He's trying to jam it home from behind. Osgood's got a stick on it. Barron and Pronger protecting Chris Osgood, who's had the pleasure from his perspective of watching the play at the other end.
What a luxury for Chris Osgood. And naturally now what Chicago hopes is that it gets better before it gets worse, but Chris Osgood is probably not even broken a sweat yet.
We will run through all the games left for these teams as we go along. For the St. Louis Blues, they've got Edmonton, Detroit at home, Nashville and Minnesota on the road. Those are the 4 games they have remaining in their regular season. Jamal Mayer's the intended. Mayer's reached in, stole it, fanned on the shot. Played back around the far side. Steve McCarthy. McCarthy, who's had a groin problem, getting back into action, his 21st game. These Blackhawks not only playing with a lot of kids to give them experience, but because they've had to. They've had serious injuries that have hindered play for a lot of their stars this year. Dallas Drake moves that one out of there. Brian Berard will come back to get it. 27-year-old Berard's done well. 13 goals, 32 assists. Deflected off the top of the circle. Shot on. Osgood knocked it away. Jim Vandermeer had the opportunity there. Put in from the point. That got the screen does. And here's our first fight.
Jimmy Vandermeer and Reed Lowe. We knew that Vandermeer was looking for it before. Look at Reed Lowe throw the lefts. Vandermeer's a tough kid, but he hasn't even got it wound up yet.
And Murray Barron's hurt on the ice. That was the number 23 you saw down.
Jimmy Vandermeer from the Fighting Vandermeer brothers. He's got 5 brothers that play. They're all tough. And Reed Lowe is no slouch in the ring as well. Look at Lowe. He was landing both rights and left.
Reed Lowe, second on this team to Mike Danton in penalty minutes, but first in fights.
Boy, I'll tell you what, by NHL standards, this is one long fight.
Linesmen are letting him go.
They want him to get some of this out of their system. Look at this, they can hardly throw. It looks like the final seconds of a 15-round title fight.
This was the thriller in Manila, where the temperature was about 98 degrees with 100% humidity. So there'll be 5 for Fighting's air, sports fans. Blues have a 3-0 lead.
Well, the Detroit Red Wings continue to gather steam, and Brett Hull would lead his Red Wings into Minnesota to take on the Wild. We'll have that game for you tomorrow on ESPN2, 7 Eastern. Marian Gaborik and the Minnesota Wild will take on Brett Hull and the Detroit Red Wings, 7 Eastern. More information, just log on to ESPN.com.
As we have a chance to go through some of the injuries today, looking at that list, it is unbelievable. The number of injuries around the National Hockey League to key players. Owen Nolan, of course, going down for Toronto, and this time of year you can't get a straight answer from anybody on injuries.
What about Jason Blake of the New York Islanders too? He is one of their key guys.
Yep, he is gone, has been lost. Whether he's able to get back or not remains to be seen. Ruutu trying to move it in, deflected in front, batted up in the air, but not on net. The 5 minutes for fighting went to Lowe and Vandermeer at 13:49, so we're 5-on-5. Osgood looking for the puck. It squirted away. Came up to the far side point. Darren Quint was over there and dumped it in. Pronger gets it back for the Blues. Both teams will change it up for the Fly. The other teams, of course, involved in this battle for that final playoff spot, intensely watching, as they have been for the past 2 weeks, the outcomes of these games with Nashville and Edmonton. Keeping an eye on what's going on. Calgary has solidified their playoff spot. These three teams, it's a dead heat. Loose in behind the net. Sean Thornton came over to get it. Tried to center it. Bounced away off the far side wall. Stepping up was McCarthy to hold it in. Shot. Osgood. That one ripped wide of the net. And a penalty coming up. Delayed call. There's the whistle. Best scoring chance right there for Chicago in the game.
I think it's Brian Savage that's going to go on a hold for St. Louis. And you had to know that it was going to tilt their way, at least Chicago's way, sooner or later. Here's the hold by Savage. We'll see Chicago's power play when we come back.
Fighting is low. Well, let's see if Chicago can get an all-important goal right here to get back into this. The Chicago Blackhawks tied for 19th on the power play. St. Louis tied for 50 on the penalty kill. That'll be cleared out of there by the Blues.
And the precedent has obviously been set in this game for putting a team down 2 men and giving the other guys a 5-on-3.
Yeah.
So if you're wearing a white and blue jersey, you better keep your nose clean here.
Darren Quint working on the power play will send it in. 10 power play goals. Calder, the leader, but he's injured and not playing. That could have been a call, and the fans thought it should have been.
If he'd gone into the boards, it would have been.
Down on the ice, McLean. Held in at the point. They'll move McCarthy into the middle. Looking Ruutu. Shot. That just deflected. Brian Berard was down low. And Matt Keith both there, but could not redirect a strong centering pass.
That was a wide open backdoor play. If it's on the tape, it's in.
It's in. McCarthy takes it back in behind the net. A 3-0 lead. 2-man advantage. Power play goals for the St. Louis Blues here in the first period. Daze taking it into the corner. He got an elbow up in a Blues face. Blue player down far side. Berard dumped it in. Shot. Fanned on. Great chance. Daze goes to the corner. Janik was on him. Held in far side by McCarthy. Looking into the high slot. They got Ruutu there. Near side Berard off shooting. Middle shot. Ripped up over the head of Osgood.
What a shot.
McCarthy just rifled that one through. Held in on the far side. Mike Bell was over there. Back to McCarthy. Sends it in. Osgood will cover this.
You bet he will.
Pretty good movement of the puck.
Very good movement. Chicago went 1 for 3 on their power play yesterday. Scored on a 5-on-3. And looked like they're feeling good. Look at number 6 in white. Eats the elbow of Eric Daze. That's why Eric Weinrich went down and he kept dabbing at his nose and his mouth. He got smoked. And it looked like Daze knew what he was doing too. Big man, Daze.
Daze's so big your face is at his elbow when you're going in like that. The near side power play continues. Moved up by Quint to the point. Berard's back on the point now. 18 left on the advantage for Chicago. Berard trying to pull St. Louis out of there to open up the middle, but there wasn't any opening, and Pronger dove and blocked that pass. Cleared it to the far end. Adam Monroe finally a chance to rest a little bit in net for the Blackhawks after a real pounding for the first 12 minutes of this game. Dump pass into the middle. Big check. Daze got the puck. His shot blocked into the corner off Pronger. Moved around by Pronger and out. That'll do it. One shot on the power play. They do not convert. And the Blues are able to protect their 3-0 lead. And that is going to be an icing call with 2:46 to go in this first period.
Mike Kitchen's team just continues to pick up points. They've only lost 2 of their last 11 games. They've gone 7-2-2. And there's a guy that's been a key factor for him. Mike Sillinger has really settled the Blues down in so many areas, from faceoffs, special teams, excellent on the power play. He's already picked up 1 great assist in this game. Really good on the PK as well.
St. Louis Blues right now, maybe after this game it won't be true, but came in with a franchise low for goals scored per game in a season. 2.35 per game. In their franchise history, it has never been lower than that. They've already scored 3 in this game. Kachuk in the corner takes the hit. Strudwick is on him. Into the middle. Backhander went right through the paint, but wide. Pavel Demitra was there. Dimitra got a backhand shot off. It never ended up on net. That's one-on-one it the other way. Here's McLean. Gets a little help 3-on-2. Osgood, a big save. Kicked away Igor Korolev's shot. Korolev wound up. They had the advantage momentarily. Kachuk the other way for the Blues. Leaves it. Shot. That one deflects up and off the netting. No. The official didn't call it, but the players did because they all stopped playing. And let me correct the officials here. We had a change. Shane Heyer's not working. Rob Martel is working with Mark Jonette. Minute 54 left to go in the period. St. Louis Blues on top here, 3-0. Their game in hand is what they are using here today to try and at least get ahead of the other two teams for that last playoff spot in the West. Shot from the point held on to as Christian Backman dumped it in. There is the 21-year-old Adam Monroe. Originally signed by Chicago 3 years ago. They didn't get a deal.
Well, he was drafted by them, but they never signed him. So he went back to junior, and then 2 years later went back into the draft. And guess what? After being a first-round pick, his first time in the draft, he wasn't even drafted.
So they picked him up and signed him as a free agent.
Yep, when they got injured earlier this season.
How about that, huh? Amazing story from Monroe, who started this year with the Gwinnett Gladiators of the East Coast Hockey League.
It's the Atlanta suburb, isn't it?
Yes. Tough league. Very successful one. Spread out throughout the Northeast and into the South now.
Yep, now known as the ECHL, with no reference to East because there's even a team in Alaska.
And down south, Alabama. Off the near side boards, Backman held it in. Christian Backman goes back on top. Blast shot. That got through and a save made. Brian Savage ripped that one. A little over a minute left to go. Our Southwest intermission report will be coming up. John and Barry will be along. They'll update you on the injury situation with Nolan and Lalime, the playoffs, who's in, who's out, and Barry about the Oilers, all coming up.
Christian Backman's had a couple of great shots. I mean, the St. Louis Blues winning faceoffs in the offensive zone. Talk about a screen. I couldn't even see Monroe behind the screen. I know he couldn't see the puck.
He was right place, right time, and got a hold of it. Ruutu sends that one in. Tumo Ruutu, fourth among rookies in points and goals. He wears 15. They break that one straight down the middle. 3-0 lead, backed in by Eric Daze. Daze is playing just his 15th game. Told you about the injuries. He had a back problem out 53 games. D joins the play. Strudwick coming around the net, trying to wrap it in, could not. Odd man chance here for the St. Louis Blues if they hustle it up. Jamal Mayers gets it far side. It heads to the net. Back from Mayers, blocked into the corner. Mayers will wait behind the net, set it up in front. That shot deflected away. Daze got back and played some D on that one on the back check. Ruutu will take the blue line chance. That got blocked to the near side boards by Pronger. Centering pass in the middle. Could not connect the Steve Pops, who is running it through. 6 seconds left to go. Intercepted by Waite. Pronger dishes it across ice. And that's going to do it in the first. St. Louis, 3 minutes and 22 seconds worth of two-man advantage situations in that first period. And they got goals by Kachuk, Savage, Chayanek, and...
All right, it's between you guys. Best bartender gets the job.
After you. Oh, boy. Yeah.
The bat blue, please.
I've got this one. Canada's finest.
Thanks.
Break out the blue. Labatt Blue.
Is it hot in here? Is it...
Welcome back to Chicago, everybody, as the Blackhawks trailing by a score of 3-0 the Blues with those 3 power play goals, each of them coming on a two-man advantage. With Bill Clement and all of our crew, I'm Gary Thorne. Welcome back to Chicago, everybody. What can be said? St. Louis got the big lead and dominated for Chicago. They didn't get any more after that first 9 minutes.
No, that's why you have intermissions, and Brian Sutter has as much fire as any coach in the history of the game. Funny, Brian Sutter was telling us before the game that in 15 of the last 18 Blackhawks games, they were in a position to win the game with just a couple of minutes to go in each. Well, they've got some work ahead of them if they want to get back to that stage because they're down by 3. And the Chicago Blackhawks right now can only be spoilers, whether it's for the St. Louis Blues or Nashville for that matter.
You take a look at what it looks like as far as the standings are concerned. Only 8 teams go from the East and the West, and in the West right now, that's how close it is. I mean, a virtual deadlock. The tiebreaker right now would be wins. The team with the most wins would move ahead, but there are still games to be played.
And
at least 4 for each team.
The reason I mentioned Nashville and Chicago is that Chicago and Nashville have a home-and-home set left against one another. And obviously Chicago could go a long way to damaging Nashville's playoff hopes.
Yep. We are underway here in the second period. Chicago Blackhawks trying to get one on the board here. Turnaround shot wide of the net. And that one got ripped again, but not on net by Brett McLean, one of the 7 rookies who is dressed and playing out there today. And he is 7th among rookie scorers. McLean, who wears number 53, 11 goals, 20 assists on the year. McLean remains out there with Bell on one side. Eric Nicholas will move it up near side. Nicholas looking into the middle. Shot deflected straight up in the air. Osgood, and there goes the net off the moorings. Osgood got bumped into by McLean.
In case you missed the first period, the story was one of special teams, especially for the St. Louis Blues. Chicago just cutting grooves in the ice to the sin bin to the tune of giving St. Louis 10 minutes and 48 seconds of power play time. That's out of 20.
That's amazing. I mean, it was an unbelievable start. Penalties just piled up at the beginning of the game, and those goals came at 6:20, 10:05, and 11:41 for the St. Louis Blues. Chicago's been close a couple of times. McCarty goes into the corner. Steve McCarthy in his 21st game of the year. Injuries have kept him out of part of the season. Swung around the near side, trying to get into the front of the net. Chicago, Ruutu on the far side. They don't have anybody really in that slot area. Puck deflected. Murray Barron was able to clear it out, and the Blues will dump that one in.
I'm really anxious to see if St. Louis comes out soft here or if they come out really hard. If they come out and play real hard hockey to start the second period, then their leaders, including their coach Mike Kitchen, have taken care of business between periods, because it's easy to get fat with a 3-0 lead.
Is it ever? In front, Osgood watch that one deflect away. Not on net, though. Scott Mellamy's got it. Mellamy just 2 goals in the last 21 games for Mellamy. His drop pass to Wade. Wade had already gone by him. Sent back in behind the net, Brian Berard. Berard bounced it off the near side wall. Cleared into the middle by Matt Keith. Keith, the trailer, gets the puck back, shooting side. Osgood makes the save. Chris Osgood looking for his 29th win of the year. He's 28, 24, and 8. Osgood down. Score! And the Blackhawks are on the board. Sean Thornton just called up again today.
How many scoring chances did the Blackhawks have of this quality in the first period? How about none? There were 2 guys on the puck. Doug Waite was one. St. Louis had a defenseman there. Chicago still beat him. And a real slick move by Thornton off the skate. He had to kick it up to the blade. He got it to the stick from our Southwest Airlines goal cam. Chris Osgood made a dandy save on the first one. Rebound right back to Thornton, and he roofed it off a deflection. Well done, and the Chicago Blackhawks now have something to talk about.
They're back in this game and makes it 3-1. So Thornton, in his 8th game, only 23 minutes prior to today played this year, his first NHL goal since 10-26-02. Holy moly, it's been a while. That came against Carolina. And as we said, he just joined the club again today on yet another call-up, 3rd this season. And 3-1. So an early goal, second period for the Chicago Blackhawks. Loose at center, moved in. Rayom tried. Stripped of the puck at center. Blues keeping the heat on. Off the near side boards, it was Korolev. Korolev had it taken away. Played in behind the net. In net is Adam Monroe, the 21-year-old, who's backing up. Jocelyn Thibault played last night. Thibault just getting back, of course, from the injury in yesterday's game. Now St. Louis will try and get one back off the fireboards. Backman moves in. St. Louis cycling all 5 on this unit. The goal at 1:52, Thornton's first of the year. Yakubov and Keith picked up the assists on it. They'll wave off any icing. And the Blues, Giannick, bad pass into the middle. Chicago had to get on side. Nicholas sends it in. Eric Nicholas just knocked that one down with a glove. And the Blues a little sloppy again. Turnover down low. Shot just missed. Oh, what a chance for Mark Bell. 2 turnovers in a row, and a scoring chance out of the second one as Bell had Osgood going the other way. Chyanek in the corner, got double team, sends it down low, back to get it. Steve Pops, let it go.
It's official. The Blues have gotten sloppy.
When you turn that button off playing hard, sometimes getting it back on is very difficult to do. McLean left it back in behind the net. A 3-1 Blues lead. Steve Pops, their leader in ice time, 22 minutes 18 seconds a game for him. Pops will move that off the near side. He's a defenseman who can help him move the puck up ice in the transition game. Bounced off the near side wall. Jamal Mayers was there for the Blues. And it kicked that one away. Bell came over. It moved up to the point. The Blues would get it out of there. Blues trying to use their speed here. Jamal Mayers leaves it. Shot. That one goes wide. Not on net. Mike Sillinger. Sillinger has 12 goals on the year and a strong first period. Up against the wall. Blackhawks get it back. Rutu helped over there. Sent around the far side. Berard. 27-year-old Brian Berard. Pronger moved in on the dasher and just elbowed that one to keep it into the zone. St. Louis keeps it alive here. Centering pass. Chicago at 3 in front of the net. Berard played it off the near side wall and out of there. Rutu's on the right. Brought in on the left side. Tyler Arneson has not touched the puck a lot, and that one's going to be whistled on the offside.
Chicago will just feast on turnovers if the Blues want to give them to them. Eric Weinrich stepped out beside his net and gave it to Keith Tkachuk, and you see the great pressure by Chicago. Tkachuk taking that on his forehand had to bring the puck all the way around his body, and by the time he did that, the guy was on him. And we'll watch also for St. Louis. One of the keys to this game from St. Louis's standpoint was generating speed through the neutral zone. They didn't have to do that in the first period because they were on the power play the whole time. But watch for St. Louis. If they chip the puck in with speed, then get down low, retrieve the puck and cycle, they're on their game plan. If they try to carry it across and turn it over, then they've gone soft.
The St. Louis Blues picking up on their video that Chicago for the last 4 games has gone to a left side, not necessarily left wing lock.
They lock up the left side with whichever forward is the highest in the offensive zone, and that means it doesn't necessarily have to be the left winger. Left wing lock, it's the left winger that always does.
Look at the shots here of the Blackhawks. 5-0 in the period. 15-11 Blues on the game, though. So that's why Mike Kitchen was telling us before the game. Shot Osgood. That one bounced off the crossbar. Rebound right through the paint near side. Another great chance for that second goal. Wow, that one went off Osgood and right straight up in the air and off the bar. And Vandermeer's shot, and he touches that one up for the icing call. Was that ever close?
The guy the Chicago Blackhawks had to have in the Alexei Zhamnov trade to Philadelphia is Jimmy Vandermeer. What a good heads-up play by Vandermeer. He saw Thornton down there.
How active is Thornton in his first game back since being called up? That went up off the right shoulder, over the right shoulder of Osgood. First now with 302 wins, 21st netminder to go over that 300 win mark. Giannik's going to be chased out of there. 68% of the faceoffs in that first period were won by Chicago. A centering pass bounces away to the point. There were a lot of them taken. That's going to be whistled on the offside.
Another reminder about hockey coming up on ESPN2. It's tomorrow. The Detroit Red Wings trying to finish #1 overall. Brett Hull continues to score. They will take on the Minnesota Wild and Marian Gaborik. Coming your way tomorrow night, 7 Eastern on ESPN2. For more information, just give us a hit at ESPN.com.
Trying to get this in for 2 weeks. I'm going to do it now. Since 1985-86, there's not been a year where the Canadian teams have all made it to the playoffs in the same year since 85-86. There is a chance that's going to happen this year. 5 of them are already there. Edmonton is the only team that is a question mark right now. So all the Canadian clubs may make it to the playoffs this season. Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver. An opportunity back in 85-86. Winnipeg and Quebec were involved. Teams no longer there. And so Canada's had a lot to cheer about. I had a chance to watch CBC Hockey Night Canada last night, and the games were fantastic. Toronto and Quebec went at it. Vancouver's game. I mean, we're seeing playoff type hockey being played now by these teams as we move into the final week of the regular season. That'll be sent back and around. Could be an icing call. Is going to be one, and that'll be touched up there. Great to have you with us here Sunday, the National Hockey League on ESPN. This is the one that put Chicago right back in it. Thornton by Osgood. It's 3-1.
All right, it's between you guys. Best bartender gets the job.
After you. Oh, boy. Yeah.
The bat blue, please.
I've got this one. Canada's finest.
Thanks.
Break out the blue. Labatt Blue.
Is it hot in here or is it just him?
He's down kind of low. Amani Savage
1996, game 1 of the conference semifinals. Jeremy Roenick ended it. You might have recognized the call of a man that was a good friend to many of us and to the sport of hockey, the late Tom Mees.
Tom calling the game, and the Chicago Blackhawks, who've not won a cup in 43 years, extending that this year. They're not going to make the playoffs. Toronto is his second longest such streak at 36 years. Toronto's going to have a shot at ending that. That one sent in too far for anybody to handle. Mike Sillinger is already up ice. That'll be whistled. And the faceoff will come all the way back into the St. Louis zone.
What does Mike Sillinger handle the faceoff duties for the Blues now? And he's really good both sides of the ice. Took 27 draws in the game yesterday. Won 17 of them. Didn't fare so well in the first period of this game. Took 8 of them and only won 3 of them. But it'll all even out in the end. Mike Sillinger is rarely under 50% in any game.
Brett McLean, the leader for Chicago, 9 out of 13 on faceoffs in that first period of this game. Cleared back to center. Dallas Drake took the hit. Brian Berard came away with the puck. Brian Berard got chopped at from behind. What a save on Jamal Mayer's chance for Adam Monroe. Little glove flashed on that one by the 21-year-old.
The man that came full circle. Good backhand by Mayers. Full circle meaning a couple of years ago was drafted by Chicago and never signed. Went back into the draft, wasn't drafted, and when the Blackhawks got into injury trouble early in the season, they went and signed him out of the East Coast League. The ECA, take that back. The ECHL. Then he moved up to the American League to Norfolk, and here he is, just the 6th goaltender that Chicago has used this season.
His NHL debut, a 2-2 tie against Nashville, and yes, that's right, 6 goaltenders. Osgood hangs on to that one on the shot from Eric Darcey out along that left point. For the St. Louis Blues, their hope of making the playoffs, and if they make it, how far they'll go, ride right there on that man's shoulders. Chris Osgood is going to have to get it done for this team. He'll play the remainder of the games this season. 28 wins so far, as we mentioned. Goals against, 19th among netminders. And the St. Louis Blues have had a negative in the 5-on-5 hockey they play. So it's really going to take, if the St. Louis Blues can get there, Osgood to play spectacularly for them to move in the playoffs.
Now, I'll tell you something that's really, I think, going to help St. Louis is their power play goals today. Their power play is sputtered, and I don't care if it's 5-on-4 or 5-on-3. You start feeling good about yourself when you succeed.
Yep. Ruutu moves it in. Ruutu a chance. Osgood to knock it away and deflected at the side of the net. Chicago getting more traffic in front of Osgood here in this second period. Ruutu avoided the check. Puck still loose at the side of the net. Attempted clears, bounced up and over the glass. Souvenir there.
Chicago with the better territorial play and the better scoring chances here in the second period so far. And St. Louis with 3 guys back, but backing in, and allowing Chicago red sweaters to get to Chris Osgood. I think the St. Louis Blues are one of the best teams in the league when they play their game, which is attacking the paint like they're junkyard dogs after raw meat. Chicago is just as good at that game when they put their minds to it. That's what they're doing this period, getting the puck deep, getting it on Osgood, and driving the net for rebounds.
St. Louis has played well against the West. They have the 7th best record against the Western teams, 36, 28, and 11. Better than they've done against the East. From the point, shot. Monroe reached out for it, but it went wide. Christian Backman with the opportunity from that defensive point. He and Weinrich are together defensively. Lowe will trail that one in. 2 big 34s. Strudwick and Lowe go at it against the boards. Lowe got pinned up against the wall, and the Blackhawks able to move it up. 11:22 to go. Second period, 3-1. Blues on top. The rookie, Matt Keith. 2 goals so far in the season for Keith, and this is 16th NHL game. Lowe over there takes the hit again. Moved up to the point. Shot. Osgood's going to hang on to that one. Strudwick came over and helped cover along that far side point.
See, Chris Osgood can tell that the momentum has shifted Chicago's way, and he's going to try and squeeze it off all he can, especially with a guy like Mike Sillinger. Mike Sillinger will get put out there by Coach Mike Kitchen anytime there's a face-off deep in St. Louis's zone, especially to Osgood's right. And Sillinger has just come off the bench to take this one. But that's a real secure feeling for a goalie, knowing that you've got a guy that's as good as Sillinger is on the draws, and he promptly lost it.
Clark won it. He's been hot today. Brett Clark. Brett McLean, rather, on those face-offs, so he's going to be out there a lot. That's 53 in the corner. That's McLean. Trying to dump it off. He gets leveled instead, and a penalty coming in the Blues.
It's a good call, and it's going against Sillinger.
So Sillinger goes, and a power play chance to make it a 1-goal game.
Gave him the back of the leg push. Watch this. It doesn't take much. Watch the stick here, Sillinger. Watch. right there. The dangerous play. I mean, it's not as bad when a guy's just standing there, but you'd be amazed at how little pressure you need to put on the back of a guy's leg to make him fall like that. And a lot of guys get away with it. The refs have to be really sharp to see it. That's a good call.
Sticks get lost in traffic a lot of times, and that happens, and you don't see it. Tyler Arneson and Jamal Mayers on the faceoff. Sillinger tripping 907. The second power play of the game for the Chicago Blackhawks. 3 two-man advantage. Power play goals for the St. Louis Blues. Tkachuk, Janik, and Savage all have the goals. Answered one by Thornton here in the period for Chicago. And again, St. Louis just lined up along the blue line on the penalty kill, and Chicago tried to skate it through and lost it. Minute 33 left to go on this advantage. The Blackhawks being down 3-0, trying to get this to within 1. Brian Berard sends it around the net. Daze let it go all the way back to the point. And there they'll set it up. Vandermeer's going to work in the middle on the power play. Now goes to the far side on the blue line. There he is, trying to get him open into the middle. Berard shot deflected in front. Osgood trying to find it. Can't. Pronger digs it out.
Boy, another all left-hand shooting power play. This time it's Chicago's. And you get the one-time setup as soon as the puck goes to one side, and it starts funneling back around to all of the guys that are on their one-time shooting side. That was a good one-timer from the middle.
McCarthy's come off the bench to play with Berard on a point that got deflected in. Took a Chicago bounce to hold it in off the near side. Keith. Matt Keith. They look to the front of the net to get Bell in front if they can. Shot, glove, held on to. Steve McCarthy the chance. Osgood the save. And the power play time's down to 40 seconds.
Chris Osgood knows that once the puck ends up to his right with an all left-handed power play, he needs to watch for the one-timer as the puck starts to be funneled back over to the other side, because virtually everybody's in a one-time position on the other side.
Chicago 10-1 shot advantage in this period. 10-1 for the Blackhawks. That's cleared out of there. Big clear for St. Louis. Rowe came out to play it, and they'll get one more run at it on this power play with 30 seconds left to go. Blackhawks again. St. Louis just lines up. Dallas Drake got there ahead of everybody to get the puck, but they're unable to clear it out. Power play time running down. Barrage shot deflected near side to Bell. Bell shot. That deflected right in front of the net. They go back up on top, just held in by McCarthy. They got 3 Blackhawks over here in one place.
And that's why Mayers went right at him, as he should have.
Here's Drake. Mayers cutting, shorthanded. Penalty coming. It's going to be on Chicago. Delayed call. Weinrich shot. Monroe the save. There's the touch. There's the whistle. It'll be a power play coming for the Blues. 3 shots on that power play, Chicago, but no goal.
Can hit anything.
They pitch it, you pound it. MVP Baseball 2004. Rated E for everyone. Crush it online only with PlayStation 2. EA Sports.
St. Louis Blues, we're on a 2-on-1. Brian Berard, number 4, trying to catch up in red. Watch what he does to number 21 in white right there. Little stick scrape to the face. So Berard is gone. And we've got 4-on-4 here. 5-on-4 now. Chicago's penalty is over.
High sticking call. Berard 11-11. This will be the 7th power play of the game for the St. Louis Blues, who lead it here by a score of 3-1. Blackhawks able to clear. First 5 games these two teams played, St. Louis went 1 for 23 on the power play. Today they're already 3 for 6 on the advantage, with all those penalties that came in the first 10 minutes of the first period. Osgood going back in behind the net to hold this one up. St. Louis knows this game is not over. They may have got the first 3 goals, but Chicago has stayed with them. They want to add to it here and not let the Blackhawks get that big next goal. That got pushed away along the far side. Good play by Pops.
Great play. I mean, his read was perfect. He knew that Dimitra came through the neutral zone so fast that nobody was with him on that side of the ice, so he squeezed him off right away.
Tkachuk on the power play in the middle with it. Tic-tacs. He'll head to the front of the net. Doug Waite now in front. Tkachuk on the post. There he is. They overload on the far side with Pronger on that weak side point right now. Backman's out there along the blue line as well. Tkachuk looking. In front, Waite. He's in a battle down low, and that was for Tkachuk, and it was behind him. Cleared out, and St. Louis will make a run here with 50 seconds to go in the advantage. Backman and Pronger stay out there on the blue line on the power play. Scott Mellanby has just come off the bench. Mellanby sends it in hard around far side. Korolev was over, had it knocked away, found it again, and cleared it out of the zone. Chicago penalty killers, good job forcing the play deeper that time. Eric Nicholas came back to help. That'll be sent in near side Salvador, just left side of the net. Monroe cleared around, not out. Second time, yes. Eric Nicholas got over there and got it out of there. He was acquired. Nicholas, playing for the Blackhawks, was picked up as a free agent from St. Louis. So he's got a little extra going here in this game. Off the near side with only 8 seconds left to go in the St. Louis power play. They need a shot. It comes from Salvador to the point, shot wide and all the way out to center. Big windup, Eric Weinrich, but it deflected. Power play is over. They got no shots on it. Good job by the Chicago penalty killers, and they keep it at a Blues 3-1 lead. Chicago now back to 5-on-5 hockey. Pop's still out there. Leaves it near side, looking Bell. Bell sent it into the middle. Daze was cutting, and Daze was tied up. Daze and Bell cycling down low. Daze just trickled that one into the middle and is cleared out for the Blues. Played back Chicago. They want to change it up here. Hit by Jamal Mayers. Good shot on Strudwick. Back into the middle. They had Ruutu down low, but couldn't get it through. Now to go off the glass and out the center. Chicago this period, when they've been able to have 5-on-5 hockey, the ice has tilted towards Osgood. They've had their chances.
Now the effort's been there for Chicago. It was the discipline, the breakdown of the discipline that got it really behind the 8 ball.
In trouble early in that first period. Remember, these are back-to-back games. They played last night, went to overtime. Salvador got the overtime goal in a 4-3 St. Louis win. Jocelyn Thibault making his return. First time for Thibault in net since November 7th. And came away with 25 saves. Near side Daze, his shot. That one off Weinrich's skate and wide. Puck side of the net. Ruutu goes by and comes away with it. Fine rookie Ruutu. They expect a ton out of him in his career. Goes back on top. Pop shot. That one deflects to the near side corner. Bouncing off skates to Weinrich. Weinrich, Kachuk tipped into the middle. And a move by Chianik. He'll head to the front of the net. In loose. Kachuk all the way around. Empty net. Comes back. Centered it in front in the paint. Nobody can get a handle on it. And Chicago, Sean Thornton moves it out. Monroe was out of that net for a long time in hockey time. But nobody could tip it back in the other way. Thornton set up. Osgood will hang on. Keith Kachuk coming down the left side, decided to come back the other way, dumped it in front, hoping, but the hope and a prayer was unanswered.
Well, we spent some time coming up with a hockey index to try to figure out which of the teams on the bubble will make the playoffs. We took into consideration the weakest schedule, the special teams index, of power play and penalty killing, which is very important, goals against average, and what they've done in the last 10 games. And we've combined all of those for a rating, for an index. When we get a chance, we'll show you where we think the teams that are on the bubble in the Western Conference will in fact finish.
I don't want people thinking we did this. I mean, it's a great thing, but we shouldn't take credit for this. You understand that? Okay.
I'm not.
Okay, good. I'm not either. I didn't do it.
I didn't either.
Now, Jim Zaroli, on the other hand,
our hardworking producer, Jim Zaroli, put it together, and it's similar to the rating percentage index, the RPI that's used to rank teams, NCAA basketball, but we decided to put our hockey spin on it, and they're all good categories.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting when you see the results.
We'll show you how that came about. In fact, here's a whistle right here. How appropriate, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is an opportunity, Bill, to show what the results of that are.
Well, how convenient was that whistle?
Well, take it away, Bill.
Thank you very much, Gary. Now, low numbers are good in this hockey index, and right now Calgary, coincidentally, is in fact ahead of St. Louis and Edmonton, ranks at the top. St. Louis is next, then Edmonton, then Nashville at the bottom. The high number that Nashville has is a negative number, having 87. 36 for Calgary is good. What's so interesting is that's so close to the way it is right now. But that index, if you believe in the numbers, indicates that the Nashville Predators, put your fingers in your ears, folks, if you're in Nashville, aren't going to make it.
We'll see whether or not that holds up. But those are the important aspects numbers-wise. Played back into the zone. Salvador's got it, cleared it off the wall up, and kicked away to center.
I can feel Barry Trotz's temperature changing from here.
Goodness, he's not here to tell us his thoughts at the moment. Hey, they'll be in the race. They've had a tremendous season. This is going to go down to the final weekend.
They're right there. They got
right
2
there.
games left with Chicago.
Yep. We're not going to know where these playoffs are going to be or against whom. They play Chicago, home and road, St. Louis, and they're at Colorado to wrap up the season.
But the big one will be obviously St. Louis. They play at home against the St. Louis Blues. They've got coming up, Nashville does, home and home with Chicago, then at home against St. Louis, then at Colorado to finish it all up.
Yep, and those are all very important games for all those teams involved. Mellamy dumps that one in. Colorado Avalanche are vying to hold on to their division lead over there, with Vancouver continuing to make a run at them. Weinrich giving chase at the other end for the Blues as the hitting picks up here with 3:20 to go in the period. That'll be touched on the icing call with the Blues on top by a score of 3-1. Want to remind you later, tune in the great rivalry in the NBA. Paul Pierce, the Celtics, Philadelphia 76ers. They are battling for playoff spots in the NBA's Eastern Conference. It's on ESPN, the NBA, 6:30 Eastern Time. That's tonight. Great to have you with us here. Sunday Hockey, the National Hockey League and ESPN United Center in Chicago, where 3 early goals for the St. Louis Blues when they had a 2-man advantage for each of them in the first period gave them a 3-0 lead. Thornton answered with a goal to make it 3-1 here in the second. That's where we are right now. At the point, shot, save right over Tkachuk's stick. Chianik shot rebounded, and Tkachuk was standing there, but he could not redirect.
What an excellent cycle by the Blues, including Eric Weinrich, who jumped up on the play to make it happen. He's a defenseman, but now he's a D-man without his stick.
There he is in the corner. Weinrich just trying to hold his man down. You do that too long, you get the penalty. Tkachuk tried to hand him a stick. That shot deflected up and over, and when Tkachuk gave him a stick, Pops was right there to shoot it.
Well, Weinrich dropped the stick as well. Neither had a stick, so the Blues for a while there had 2 guys without sticks.
And people are trying to get on the ice off the bench now. Good play by Backman to hold things up so the Blues can get people out there on the ice. Chicago on the intercept, trying to make it a 1-goal game. Pop save made Osgood, and he'll stop it right there.
Talked about the cycle down low. Keith Tkachuk kind of got away with one there. He threw his arms up in the air. But you saw right away that Brett McLean turned around and said, hey, what about that? That sure could have been called.
Shots are 13-3 in the period. There's their leader, Keith Tkachuk. As these St. Louis Blues take it right down to the final week, trying for a playoff spot. And the St. Louis Blues aren't used to not being there. Pronger cleared that one around the near side boards. The Blues have not missed the playoffs since the 78-79 season right over Monroe. Didn't know where it went.
What a blast by Mike Sillinger.
Monroe had it on the end of the glove, and it tipped up and over the net. Monroe's got that one, kicked it away. Rebound, Monroe and Jamal Mayers. Mayers ran that one in a hurry off the rebound as it bounced around. Ruutu can't handle it. Blues will take it back in their own end and change it up. Little room up ice. Mike Sillinger, he wants to head to the bench. Blues will change it with 1:53 left to go in the period. If Chicago could get one right here, the end of this period, it would be a very big goal for the Blackhawks, energy-wise. Ruutu's centering pass gets blocked.
Say nothing of what it would do for them on the scoreboard.
Making it 1 instead of 2 is a big deal. In a season where goal number 3 generally has been enough, that's going to be a whistle and a penalty coming up. Who gets it? High sticking call on the Blues with 1:33 to go in the period.
The table is now set for Chicago.
Bill, we were talking about injuries. The Dallas Stars battling for a playoff spot. Yuri Letnin has back spasms. That's what they're saying. He did not go to Vancouver. Is not going to play today in San Jose.
Key player. Flicked off the helmet of Ruutu. The stick of Waite did. Doug Waite will sit.
Power play chance. The high sticking call. This will be the 3rd power play chance of the game. Broken stick right there and a slash off the faceoff. And the Chicago Blackhawks get that taken care of and started up ice. Vandermeer leading the charge, brings it in. Vandermeer dumped it down low. Osgood. Ooh, that was close. Osgood had Keith standing right in front of him to redirect that shot. Berard a chance. That deflected shot. What a save by Osgood. Osgood denying Keith again at the side of the net on a power play chance off Berard's rebound shot. There's McLean passing. There's the man who is in front. Keith drops it off. Back to McLean. Matt Keith trying to set up in front. St. Louis staying back. Bell drops it to the point. Berard dishes over. 46 in the period. Shot deflected again. Jammed at underneath Osgood. There's the whistle, and again the rookie Matt Keith right there jamming away.
But Chris Osgood, huge saves on this penalty kill for St. Louis. Some nights your goaltender doesn't have to be your best penalty killer. Some days he does. Right now, Chris Osgood is St. Louis's best PK guy. That was the first save. He got that one with the glove, and this is on the second flurry. Chicago just getting pucks to the net, trying to get numbers there, and they had a quick 2-on-1 in front. Couldn't poke it home. Matt Keith was there. The whole idea of taking the shot is making sure you've got the defenders outnumbered in front. And in both of those times, Chicago had 2 attackers, and St. Louis only had 1 defenseman there.
Matt Keith almost got one of those unusual goals where you push the goaltender's glove and puck both into the net.
And then it's all a matter of the whistle.
Saved again. Rebound. Shot deflected. In front was Ruutu. Blackhawks need a clear. St. Louis needs a clear here, and they get it.
Boy, they're getting free shots, too. Nobody's paying a price. I mean, St. Louis isn't making Chicago pay a price in front at all.
To get another run, Vandermeer behind his own net. 15 seconds left to go in the period of a 3-1 Blues lead in the second. That one blocked and whistled on the offside. So Chicago has had 5 shots on this power play, but Osgood has come up big.
Huge.
Osgood, the big man here so far in this period. In behind the net, Steve Pops came back to get it. Worked it around the near side boards. Just a couple of seconds left to go. And we'll start with power play time remaining. 26 seconds of power play time for the Chicago Blackhawks. 18-5. Chicago out shooting St. Louis in the period, but the only goal, Thornton. So the Blues still have a 3-1 lead.
An usher here says this is the place.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Nice work out there. Can we get an autograph?
Sure, why not?
We're big fans.
So cool. There you go.
Hey, good luck on Wednesday night.
Thanks, but I only do security on weekends.
Oh, he's a security guard.
That's where I know him from.
And I don't know about anybody else out there, but man, have I been impressed with Detroit, and they're still not as healthy as they're going to be in a couple of weeks. Yep. They're going to get Robert Lang back and Chris Draper, so getting in is great. Getting in the 7 slot is way better to me than getting in the number 8 slot.
And that's where the St. Louis Blues are right now. They are ranked in that number 7 spot, even though the point totals with Edmonton, Nashville, and St. Louis are the same. The first tiebreaker is wins, and the St. Louis Blues have the advantage. Brian Berard dumps that one in, underway here in the third. The Blues have a 3-1 lead. All 3 of those goals coming in the first period. Power play is now over, and 5 shots on that power play, but they could not convert. Here's Drake in. Drake shot, save, rebound. Deflected right into the low slot area and moved out of there by Keith. Keith had a strong ending of that second period. Shot that one all the way up and into the net. Here are the standings so you can see them as they exist at the moment.
Calgary Flames firmly in 6th place with 90 points. Then St. Louis, Nashville, and Edmonton all tied with 85 points. We rank St. Louis ahead of the other 2 because of their wins. That is the first tiebreaker.
And how that's going to look come next Sunday, when everything's all said and done, remains to be seen.
Something's going to end up being decided by one of the tiebreakers.
Yep, sure looks that way. You have Tampa Bay and Detroit could be in a tie-breaking situation as far as the number 1 position in the National Hockey League is concerned. Backman drops that one off to the near side. We are just underway here in the third period. A very strong second period for the Chicago Blackhawks as far as the shots were concerned, as they piled them up in that period. And now the question is, can they find a way to convert on those shots? We'll see. In front, Monroe couldn't get it. 18-5 in the second period on shots for the Blackhawks. Chicago Blackhawks move it back into the zone, dumped into the corner. Tyler Arneson has not had much of an opportunity to do anything, and he's been their hottest goal scorer. 9 goals in 13 games, number 39 with the Blackhawks. Now that was the pass intended to him on the far side that went through. McCarthy from the corner dumped it in. Daze knocks it down. Daze chance. That Osgood didn't have to touch that one. Arneson, Ruutu, Daze turned it. Ruutu lost it, cleared back up out of the zone. Jason Strudwick's got to take it back so they can get on side. They do. Ruutu dropped it off. Bad pass through the middle. It'll be sent in by Ryan Johnson.
That's what the Blues want to do. Send it in deep.
For Chicago to come the length of the ice here Intercepted and dumped right back in from the left point. Chicago will have their D involved in their offense, while the St. Louis Blues will hold theirs back.
And this is what St. Louis wants to get from their fourth line. It's out there now. Rayom, Johnson, Reed Lowe. Playing the other guys in. It's a kind of a momentum shift. Everybody feels good coming out after them.
Grind it out. Run that clock down. Shot in wide of the net by Johnson. Cleared up to the point. Salvador's got to come back with it. They had to get back on side themselves. Salvador out there with Matt Walker. That gets dumped in. In behind the net. Chicago going back to get it. Vandermeer back out on the ice. Vandermeer splits through some folks as it's moved in off the near side by Matt Keith. Played around by Osgood. Doug Waite. He had a check waiting for him at the blue line, and it bounced back into the zone. Chicago, though, will use the opportunity to change it up. The Blues get the free up. Into the corner. Monroe back to get it. Adam Monroe, 1-3-1 in his 5 National Hockey League games, all of which have been played this year. And in there to start this one with, of course, the starter, Jocelyn Thibault last night. And Monroe hangs on a backhand chance coming from the back of the net.
Brian Savage decided to step out and see if he could chip one over Monroe. This is good work by the Blues. This is what they wanted to do in the second period and failed dismally. They got outshot 18-5 by Chicago in the second period. And the Blues seem to have sort of recommitted to playing in Chicago's end. Talk about the tiebreaker. Tiebreakers in the NHL. Wins is #1. Head-to-head games. And goal differential.
And right now, if it's Detroit, Tampa Bay, the first two are even. They have to go to a goal differential at the moment for the #1 position in the National Hockey League. Now, there's still a week left to go, and the goal differential would favor Detroit. That one bounced back to the near side boards. Power play underway. Penalty picked up Weinrich. Roughing, 3:20. Here's Chicago's chance again. 4th power play opportunity of the game for the Blackhawks. It'd be hard to believe the way this game has gone, that Chicago could be knocking on the door in a 1-goal game, but that's exactly what they can do here if they can just find a way to score on the power play. The Blackhawks are 11th at home on the power play, even though overall they are 19th. And again, St. Louis just lines it up. Chicago got away with it that time, got it in. The shot, save, rebound. Daze was in front. It deflected past him, though. But they do have time to get it working here. Dumped in. Down low. Ruutu trying to center it. Up the near side was Tyler Arneson we were talking about. Off that point, Vandermeer let it go. Osgood off the far side, able to knock it away. Berard, Vandermeer playing along the blue line. Move back out the center, short-handed. China giving chase. And it's going to have to be held on to, and that forces the face-off in the Chicago end.
Good play by Chyanek. Went right at Monroe. Didn't let him put it back in play. So little things. Mike Kitchen wants attention to detail. And he's got detail right here. I'm kind of surprised Adam Monroe didn't just play it over to his forehand. His defenseman went for an outlet pass. Adam Monroe decided to be safe first.
Time on the power play. You see it, 50 seconds now for the Blackhawks. They are forced to dump it in deep. They sent it all around the far side. All right, Bell over there trying to go back out onto the point. Shot, Osgood. That deflected, and there goes the net. Pushed into it. Brett McLean, who was trying to follow it up. And the faceoff. Well, I thought he was pushed into it. Yeah, they will. The faceoff will stay in the zone.
The Hawks continue to threaten. Christian Backman had that one go off the back of his skate into the corner. But boy, the Hawks on their power play, and even in the second period, have done a great job of getting traffic in front of Chris Osgood.
Trying to get a power play goal, but a big face-off one back to Pronger. And Pronger is able to clear it out of the zone. And the power play time goes down to 30 seconds now for Chicago. Brian Berard takes it back in behind the net. Blues will try and get one more dump here to kill this penalty off. Osgood flipped it around the near side boards. Held in. McCarthy shot blocked right back to him. McCarthy's pass gets blocked, and Berard came up, played it back. Then a good play, and he lobs it out of there. Gonna have to hustle to get a chance here. They do get it into the zone. Osgood on the save. Eric Nicholas had the opportunity. Power play over. They got 2 shots on it. Do not convert. Our Bud Light plus-minus board. Zdeno Chara continues on top at 35. Martin St. Louis right behind him, and Malik of Vancouver only one behind him. Bud Light plus-minus leader recognized at the end of the season. Whoever comes up on top there.
And when you end up with those kind of plus numbers at the end of the season, you know you've been a responsible player. Every time your team scores, you get a plus. You're on the ice when the bad guys score, you get a minus.
And you know you've been on a pretty good team because there's been some scoring going on to get it up there. That'll be touched up on the icing call by Steve Popst.
Another reminder, more hockey action for you on ESPN2 tomorrow night at 7 Eastern. The red-hot Detroit Red Wings, they're trying to finish #1 overall. They will be in Minnesota taking on Marian Gaborik and the Wild. ESPN2 tomorrow night, 7 Eastern. If you want more information, log on to ESPN.com.
Talking about injuries, the Tampa Bay Lightning do not have Daryl Sador, who's made a big difference for them since being acquired. Sador was not in the lineup for a second consecutive game yesterday, and he is out of there with an upper body injury, and that's what they're defining it as. We're getting close to the playoffs. And so with a situation for Tampa Bay, and Sador is an issue now as they head into the final week. Dumped into the corner, but they had not cleared the zone. That one will be whistled. 14:01 left to go here in the third period. Last 3 games, 2 goals, 3 assists for Pavel Demitra. 23-goal season, 57 points on the year for Demitra. A lot of these players not at the numbers that they had hoped for or expected to have for the St. Louis Blues offensively.
Demitra scored more goals against the Chicago Blackhawks than any other team in the NHL. Always dangerous.
Chicago moving it out of there. McCarthy on the far side. Blues playing a defensive game now as we move with 13:40 to go in the third, and that Blues 3-1 lead. The way this game started, you would have bet there were going to be a lot more goals up there on the board, with 3 quick first period goals by Tkachuk, Jannik, and Savage. All of them coming when there was a 2-man advantage, all of them in the first period. 6:20, 10:05, and 11:41, but nothing sent for the Blues. Chicago's Thornton, the only goal of minute 52 of the second period, the only one Chicago has up. Osgood goes back in behind the net to play it. And Salvador moved it up to the blue line in the middle, intended for Lowe. Got clipped away from him. Right back in too low, though, waiting. No defense out there as the Blues were changing it up, but they are out there now just in time. Bell, centering pass, deflected. That'll move back up to the point, near side open. Vandermeer shot. Osgood in front, but it deflected. Back to Vandermeer. Boy, McLean's played tough in front today for Chicago. Getting hit by his own player's shots.
Look at this.
Pushed around. Weinrich hasn't got his stick again, so he gloves it up and out of the zone. And they are going to whistle it on the icing call with just 12:29 remaining. The National Hockey League ESPN on Sunday.
Bederko steals the puck from Reinhart. Over to Hunter, who shoots, block. Wickenheiser scores! Doug Wickenheiser! The Blues pull it off, and it's unbelievable.
That goal in 1986 capped off an incredible comeback by the St. Louis Blues in the conference finals, game 6. Doug Wickenheiser scored it in overtime and forced a game 7 in Calgary, which the Flames ultimately won. They went on to the Stanley Cup finals and lost to the Montreal Canadiens in the finals.
And now trying to continue that streak you saw, 24 consecutive playoff seasons for the St. Louis Blues. And a battle through the final week to do that. The Blackhawks trying to get back into this game, down 3-1 to the Blues here in this third period. Ruutu into the middle. Ruutu, 19 goals, 21 assists, heads to the front of the net, trying to redirect. Pronger blocked it, and Pronger's able to clear it up and out of there. Without Al McGinnis for virtually the entire season, Chris Pronger has had to pick up the ice time. He played 18-13 through 2. Backhander, Osgood save. Rebound, Osgood a save on Daze twice. And it gets a little heated in the corner. Want to remind you, coming up today, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics, 6:30 tonight. This is one of the great rivalries, and talk about playoffs. Both of these teams are battling for a playoff spot in the NBA's postseason. Tonight, 6:30, the NBA on ESPN.
St. Louis in this third period now. Everybody back. It's one way to avoid odd man rushes against you. Boy, the St. Louis Blues, if they don't decide to forecheck here pretty soon, are going to play the rest of this period in their own end.
Too much time for that with 11:51 left to go. Christian Backman cleared it up. Tkachuk put the hit on. The puck ended up going over the glass, and Tkachuk's getting a little pushback right now from Jim Vandermeer. Young, feisty Chicago players against some of these veteran Blues do not intend to be pushed around. And Tkachuk is doing that on Vandermeer on the far side boards.
You won't see Jimmy Vandermeer backing down from anybody. Look at this. Gave Tkachuk a shot up high.
All these young players, the hope for Chicago to get back to respectability in the National Hockey League. Talking with the Chicago people today, did not realize over the next 2 years they've got 29 draft picks in 2 years, including 8 in the first 4 rounds this year. Osgood, look out, right in front of me. That was right on the goal line. It went right straight up in the air, and he was not sure where it was. And had he not moved back as he did, that might have hit him and gone in.
He got a piece of it, then lost it. Had no idea where it went. So Chris Osgood smartly retreated as quickly as he could to under the crossbar.
Don't want it bouncing off you. Ooh, right in front of him.
Wild. It could have hit him right in the back of the helmet.
Chance there for Chicago. Turnover by the Blues in their own end. Chicago battling. Akubov's shot went right through the far side. Vandermeer over to get it. Left it in the corner. Keith rolled it around to the near side. Blues having trouble clearing. Good work by Akubov along the near side again. Vandermeer was waiting. That shot blocked, save on Thornton again. Thornton, who's got the Chicago goal, is going for number 2. And along the blue line, Thornton 33 in red. They're battling.
There's Keith Tkachuk at his best, like playing like a bull.
Osgood has to make another save as Weinrich has to hold out Mark Bell.
Well, we've talked about Jimmy Vandermeer. I mentioned the family that he comes from. These are his brothers. Peter plays in the American Hockey League in Philadelphia. Joe and Dan are in the ECHL. Jim is here, of course, in the NHL, playing with Chicago. His younger brother Billy is in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. And Ted also plays out west in the Western Hockey League. 6 of them. Brian Sutter had 5 brothers, and all 6 brothers, when you add Brian to the mix, played in the National Hockey League. I don't think all of the Vandermeers will be able to end up playing in the NHL, but they'll all play pro. I think the 2 younger ones still playing junior will turn pro.
I think we've got to do a new battle for Alberta. The Vandermeers against
it'll be Viking, the town of Viking, Alberta, where the Sutters are from, against the town of Caroline, Alberta, where the Vandermeers are from.
That'd be a good one. Osgood, another big save right there. I mean, Chicago's blistering. Eric Nicholas dumped it. Shot Berard. Gets blocked before it got through. And it'll be moved out. No. Held in along the blue line again. Berard giving chase. Pronger over. Pronger jammed it up off the glass, but not out of there. Tip back to Pronger. Feathers that one to himself off the wall. Tried to clear it out. It does off Bell's stick.
Folks, if you never understood what the term back on your heels meant,
watch the Blues.
Watch the Blues right now.
There's Melleby. Chipped that away to Bell. Mark Bell. So they had 6 goals in the last 24 games after he got off to a good start. Berard's pass through the middle. Got deflected. Look at the shots. 10-2. And right through the paint again. Chicago's got time with 9:46 remaining. Jamal Mayers had it. Ruutu got a piece of him. Back to Mayers. Mayers flips it down the boards as St. Louis will change it up. Mayers takes the hit. Got it behind the net. Still loose. Far side. Ruutu over. Ruutu. Rookie drops it off into the middle. Tyler Arneson. Arneson tied up by Dallas Drake, who's done a heck of a job today. But Arneson has been out there. Drake's been on him. Played back by Monroe. Drops it there. Quick changes made here. Daze's pass a little too far to be handled. Backman clears it into the middle. Dimitra. One bounced it off the wall. It got blocked over here, though, by Strudwick. They had to get back on side. Sent into the corner. Hops goes back to get it. Puck's underneath the pile there. Blues center. Shot Monroe with a save. Tkachuk with a quick shot as it came out of the corner. Monroe knocked it away. Osgood will glove it down. Probably would have gone wide. Ooh! Hit Chianik, his own man, in the face as he tried to clear the puck. Hit him right on the side of the helmet. Goal back in '96 against Colorado. Game 3 of the conference semifinals. The Avs would go on to win that series 4-2. The Chicago Blackhawks hoping more of those kinds of playoff memories can come around soon, but it's not going to be this year for the Blackhawks. Pops intended on the near side. Those of you who've been watching the Anaheim Minnesota game, welcome. Here at the United Center in Chicago, the Blues have a 3-1 lead over the Blackhawks with 8:34 left to go here in the third period. The Blues are living off power play goals that came in the first period, all when they had a two-man advantage. Tkachuk, Chianik, and I've forgotten who got the last one. Savage. I couldn't even believe it. And Thornton answered in the second period, but it's been those two-man advantage power play goals that have held up. Osgood in net, Adam Monroe at the other end for the Chicago Blackhawks. Chicago has dominated in scoring chances and shots through the last two periods. Monroe will let that one go by, and that will be another icing call.
Sooner or later, Chicago's going to win a faceoff, and there have been, what, about 1,000 in this period, I think. Okay, slight exaggeration.
Not by much.
But St. Louis has iced the puck a bunch. Chicago outshot St. Louis 18-5 in the second period. They've come out here in the third period, and Brian Sutter's Blackhawks have the Blues back on their heels again. If they don't win this game, they'll just say they ran out of time. They also dug themselves a hole that was pretty steep in the first period. Very, very difficult to climb out of a 3-0 hole.
6 penalties occurring, many of them at the same time and consecutively, if not together. And it ended up being a big jump, obviously early. Shot on Osgood. That got deflected. Weinrich into the corner. Chicago's not giving up here. That one got chipped by Bell up and over the net on Osgood. Cycling down low with the defenseman joining the play. Ruutu drops it. Shot. Osgood a save. Rebound in front. Still loose. Deflected near side. Brett McLean is so due. You better get him to the hospital. He has been in front of that net the entire game, and the puck's gone everywhere but in. And that will be iced again and touched up for another faceoff.
If scoring chances were contractions, he'd be delivering right here.
It would have been quads.
Chris Osgood has had to be magnificent from the first period on. He hardly broke a sweat in the first period, but the second period, 18 shots were launched his way. And here in the third period, Chicago is all over St. Louis.
Osgood coming up big after playing in the game last night as they went into overtime in St. Louis, and the Blues came away with a Salvador overtime goal to win it by a score 4-3. It's all about that last playoff spot in the West as a virtual tie exists with Nashville, Edmonton, and St. Louis battling for that the final two spots. Dallas in. Dallas Drake shot got blocked right there in the dot. Good play by Nicholas, who blocked it and held it on his stick. Eric Daze, third period shots 11-3 in favor of Chicago, just as it was in the second period.
That's 29-8 now since the end of the first period.
Man, that'll be dumped into the corner. Eric Nicholas sent it there. Nicholas trying to follow that one in with Murray Barron there. Barron Pronger. He leaves it wide side. Blues trying to get these outs as quickly as they can. Dimitrov, the near side boards, played it. He tried to drop a little pass there. Intercepted. Berard sent it up ice. Look out for the break-in. Arneson shot. Osgood comes up big again. The puck is loose, but it's going to be whistled as the net comes off the moorings. Let's check in with John Buccigross. John?
Rick Nash leads the Rocket Richard Trophy race. He has 40 goals. Iginla 39. Kovalchuk 39. Patrick Elias is fourth. That's his 37th of the year. Devils win this game. They'll overtake Ottawa for fifth in the East.
And they are the defending champions. NHL.com scores, stats, fantasy in the official store of the NHL. If it's hockey, it's here. NHL.com. Great to have you with us here in Chicago on this Sunday as the Blackhawks battling away, trying to get this to a one-goal game with 6:19 left to go. Give themselves a chance to get this thing tied up. Thornton, who has the goal, dumped it in the corner. Matt Keith, who's played a physical game here today. Vandermeer back on top, dumps it right back down again. They'll cycle it down low. Sean Thornton back there tied up. Weinrich all over him, would let go. Kicked around behind the net. Blues trying to get it up for a clear. Great effort down there by Mike Sillinger to finally help move it out of the zone. But the St. Louis Blues have that two-goal edge here, and they've been able to make those first period goals stand up. Yakubov brings it in, but offside. 5:40 remaining in the third with the St. Louis Blues trying to solidify their 7th spot.
Chicago has thrown everything at the St. Louis Blues since the Blues scored their 3rd goal. The shots are 34-11 in favor of Chicago. They haven't been able to solve Chris Osgood, but one time. Chris Osgood right now is the difference in this game for St. Louis.
36 shots total for Chicago, and Osgood has had to make some sparkling saves here in the last 5 minutes as Chicago has gotten that puck down into the great scoring territory in that low slot area. Moved by Ruutu up the far side boards. Ruutu in with Bella trailer. Ruutu dish. Berard can't get it. Bounced over his stick. Brian Berard in shot. Monroe makes a save on it hard into the boards at the other end. Boy, that was tough on Savage.
What a burst of speed, though.
Ryan Savage just plowed his way in that time. That's Savage in the corner doing battle with McCarthy. Puck's over there against the boards. St. Louis will muck it up, trying to hold it there as long as they can. Just kick it along the wall. Over there is Brett McLean for the Blackhawks. Poked away to Bell. Bell leaves it in the middle. Up with it, Keith drops it. Berard dish pass that deflects away off Rayom out the center.
That's 2 good plays on one shift by Pascal Rayom to get the puck out over the blue line. He was put out there on the line with Savage and Doug Wade. Really did a good job with them.
Ruutu dropped that one near side. Jamal Mayer's shot in a row, make a save, and that will stop the clock with 4:35 left to go. Monroe in his 6th NHL game hoping for some offensive help while the Blues use the likes of Jamal Mayers to get that thing down behind him and keep the play in front of him.
Andy Monroe really was at the mercy of the St. Louis Blues power play in the first period. All the 5-on-3s they had. He has played a strong game when he has had to. He hasn't left any rebounds. Boy, he's smothered so many of them. He's just gathered them in and squeezed them off.
Here's Drake's chance. That got deflected. That was Jamal Mayers again cutting through the middle looking for the return pass. Tyler Arneson moved it out. Arneson had a good chance in this period to get one. Jim Vandermeer dumped it. Played back up along that boards. Everybody over there. Chicago will get it, but they have to clear. They do. Tyler Arneson trying to send Daze in. Blocked shot. That one goes wide. Just a deflected opportunity. Igor Korolev that time as the puck came back to him. Chicago another chance but could not convert. Tkachuk takes it away. Jamal Mayers on a break-in. Mayers shot wide of the net. Good work by Berard to get back and get his stick in front on that shot. Tkachuk on the intercept. Both teams changing on the fly here, so it'll be dumped back in behind the net off the dasher. Monroe lost it in his equipment for a minute. Steve McCarthy will move it out.
Monroe now has to keep the puck alive. He doesn't want to squeeze it off for face-off. They got to get one here.
That is back to the player that time, but Matt Keith got away with that on the blue line with a check from behind. Popst over there, knocked it down. He pops, stripped of the puck into the middle, shot blocked. That will go up into the screen, into that netting, and that will draw a face-off in the Chicago zone. 3:12 remaining. So the St. Louis Blues looking to maintain that number 7 spot and break up the 85-point log jam. St. Louis and Nashville and Edmonton all with 85 points, 7, 8, 9 in the West. The Blues will go up 2 on those teams if they can hang on to this lead or extend it. Pronger dumped it into the corner, not wanting to create a turnover there at the blue line. We'll keep an eye with 3 minutes left to go on Adam Monroe if Brian Sutter wants to pull him out of there at some point to go after it in this game. Yakubov sends it into the corner. Thornton behind the net. Pronger on him. Couple of heavyweights there. Thornton the only goal for the Blackhawks today. St. Louis will let them cycle around the outside as much as they want. It's in front where they don't want the puck. D joining the flow. That gets blocked near side as Berard tried to sneak in. It moves by him and out the center.
That's a tough play when you shoot on a sharp angle high and miss the net completely. You see where you have to start from, all the way down to your end.
No D at that point. Wouldn't have been able to handle it anyway. Berard trying to move in. Long cross ice pass. Blues again there to intercept, sent in by Ryan Johnson. Played back by McLean. A little spin move in his end. Dallas Drake the only forechecker up there for the St. Louis Blues. Blues trying to make quick changes here in the final 3 minutes of this third period. Ruutu swung around by again Johnson.
Great shift by Johnson. He's gone off now, but boy, he was just he's an excellent defensive player. Good guy to have in this situation.
Mellanby was reaching out for the Blues, trying to hold that thing in there. Berard gets it back along the boards. Berard moving it up. Chicago bench wants to make a change here. They're going to pull the goaltender. Berard lost control of the puck. Extra skater. Empty net at the other end. Kachuk's got an empty net to shoot at. He does. And he hit the outside of the post. Hit the wide side post on that. Centering pass again. Mellanby. Mellanby a pass to Kachuk.
Tried to be a nice guy. Scott Mellanby did. He had a wide open cage.
Didn't shoot it. Onside. Chicago extra skater. That one just ripped wide. Held in by Bell. Taken back on the flip by Sillinger out of the zone. Hops will chase down with 1:13 left to go. Hops has got to play it up. Blues were changing. Tyler Arneson into the middle. Chicago the extra skater. Goaltender pulled. Dumped in again. Osgood had to knock that away.
Chris Osgood has scored before.
He's got the empty net. A minute left to go in the period. Dallas Drake putting the heat on. Turned around for Berard. Berard and Vandermeer are out there. Get some help back from Tyler Arneson. Blues up by a score of 3-1. Into the zone. No chance for a shot. Thornton tried to wind up. Daze does. He goes wide of the net though. Played up the far side by Murray Barron and out of there on the bounce. Jamal Mayers is up at the other end. Mayers empty net. Oh, got blocked by Brian Berard.
Couldn't get there in time.
Berard kept the stick down on the ice and was able to block the chance. Move back in. Pronger putting the stick on McCarthy and again to center. Kachuk, Chyanek, Savage, the 3 goals. First period, St. Louis Blues. Drake's got it. Had it knocked away. Thornton got the only one for the Chicago Blackhawks, and the St. Louis Blues improve their chances of having a postseason. That one Osgood knocked away. There's a whistle. There's still 0.8 seconds remaining. But the Blues are going to win this one 3-1.
Chris Osgood, what a day he's had here, and he's had to be really good because ever since the Blues took a 3-0 lead, the ice tilted his way from our Southwest Airlines goal cam. Jamal Mayers trying to get it back in front, and Brian Berard, who incidentally we should congratulate for being nominated by the Chicago Blackhawks as their finalist for the Masterton Trophy, which is given every year to the player that has great perseverance and dedication, and Brian Berard certainly fits that category.
And Osgood is the winner, and the Blues go 3-1. Savage 1-1 in the game. Wade, Mellanby a couple of assists. Chyanek, Savage power play goals. Osgood at 36 saves. Thornton had 1 goal. For Bill Clement and our crew, I'm Gary Thorne. Blues 3, Hawks 1.